I record this episode especially tribute to Techspressionism's 2021 online exhibition. I met Davante last year. He introduced me to join the movement, and I met Colimbo Gover and Spataler, especially helped me a lot when I tried to get into the NFT and the digital art industry. I used to do a lot of digital design, but ever since I started to create NFTs and I learned all these tools again, and I really gained a lot of knowledge because I joined this Techspressionism movement. Now my NFT is presented in these online exhibitions. Techspressionism is a movement. It's a new genre. Like Jason Pola, we have extra expressionism. Techspressionism is artists use technology to express the inner experience. I'm so grateful and I feel really highly excited that I am part of the movement. And you also can check techspressionism.com to see the online exhibition. It's still unveiled. And the rest of these recording, it will be just like a documentary of the original Zoom meeting.
Still works. We have to do Roz.
Hi, Davo. Maybe we can play the piece first?
Yep.
Is there sound?
I had the sound muted on my end because I didn't want to, because everything was cycling through while Colin and Patrick were speaking. But I can try to get the sound working, but I cannot make any promises, unfortunately.
That's all right. People can go see it as the NFT where it's listed. This is hello, everyone. It's been great to be here. This is from my series called Guns that first premiered at Carter Burton Gallery in Chelsea, New York in 2018. Following my investigations of tools, and I've always been fascinated by tools. That includes the computer, which in 1980s, upon landing in New York City, my oil paintings just filled with pixels, and I call them information paintings. So these pieces, this was a quick animation of a gun, which is also a still piece, and it is 41 layers and created totally digitally, one mark at a time. And all of these guns have stories behind them. And for me, the marks of the digital marks that I make are very important and expressive to me. They look similar to the kind of works that I do in other media. And yet there is something that speaks to this time distinctly. I feel that this group is speaking to as well, in a world that has been turned upside down really by, sure, there's always been technology, but I think the quantum leaps we're making right now are hard for people. And I think artists actually hold the reins to be talking about this new cave wall in a way that brings maybe understanding and meaning to people about current events and things going on, but in a dialogue that is different than just talking. I mean, people say, Roz, guns, why are you drawing guns? Well, my God, they're on the front page every day. Every police department has a Kalashnikov now, or an MK-15, and tools are beautiful and brilliant things, and human beings are pretty brilliant too. But it's all about good and evil. So paradox is always a big part of my work, no matter what medium it is. And drawing and painting, I'm kind of like a conduit between the old school and the new. It's always about expressing the world we're in, and the only thing different from, I guess, the Roman days and the Greeks is that, artists speak uniquely to their time. And I think Techspressionism as a movement is also doing that in a very generous, open, and interesting social experimental way that Colin has put forth that welcomes all. But it has some very, very exciting moments happening in this field. I've been pleased to be part of it. You can come see more about me online and feel free to be in touch. Thank you for including me. And also, I've curated a show at the Wrong Biennial, Love Being in the Wrong, and it's called Devotion. And some of the artists in this group are part of my pavilion, so please come take a look then, and thank you. This is called Stephen Small Lovable, and you can't hear the voiceover, but it's about a gun that a very lonely gay man had tucked away in his drawer. It's a beautiful little Derringer. never fired, that he loved, and he was of a time where he couldn't express who he was really as a man, and this gun really meant a lot to this person. I mean, the stories behind guns are really touching. They run the gamut from comedy to serious to terrorizing to horror stories, the ones we know. But they're tools to be addressed. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Roz. All right, next up we have Jan. So let me pull up your work. There you are. This is another animated piece.
Yeah, it's actually a video capture of a sculptural series I'm working on, but I like the idea of being able to bridge this world and the virtual world. And what this is, it's a sculpture of my voice speaking the word time. And I think the folds in it sort of represent kind of the veils of time we live in. And I'm also looking at this series in video online as internet songlines. And if you're familiar with Aboriginal culture, there's that connection to the planet through the earth. And I have this need to be reminded when I'm in the virtual world of the real world. It's confusing times, and this is sort of a wayfinding idea, is that, you know, we go to places, but where are we right now? We're together and not together. We're in our homes or our offices and not at the same time. So this series speaks to a lot of those ideas. In my mind, everything is sound, and when it's materialized, we see the patterns. We can take the patterns and rematerialize them into sound, or dematerialize them into the internet, though I'm not sure it's not material. So I'm really thrilled to be part of this and get a chance to show with you guys. This has been a fabulous experience. I also have a second iteration coming up in the wrong. The pavilion is Art Substitute, and it's a different iteration of another word. So the idea of making words into form that's not just the usual audio graphic is something that's I've been interested in for quite a while. And so thank you, Colin, Patrick, and a little bit of it speaks to Patrick, what he was saying about the ancient and where we come from, but we are of this time. That's a great outro, whatever that sound is.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's coming from.
That's perfect.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Jan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
I don't think it needs to be said, but no, in the interest of courtesy, if you please do have your mic muted if you're not going to be the person speaking. But yeah, it goes without saying. Next up, we have Victor. Let's go, Victor.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I'm Victor Acevedo, as many of you know, and it's really a great pleasure and a great honor to be part of this show. It's really a stunning exhibition, and hats off and congratulations to Colin and Patrick for curating such a wonderful collection. Really a massive, undertaking and a massive statement of where we are now in the movement, or in this particular genre. So this piece, just talk about the piece. I'd like to read something because I think I can say more about it by reading a little blurb here. So I'll do that. So the piece is called NYC 1983-85. And it's actually a vintage piece. It was actually first created in 1993. And I started it was about 10 years after I got into digital, which was kind of started in 83. So anyway, the title of the piece is a result of me conflating two different trips to New York City. One trip was in July 1983 and the other in November 1985. Each visit shared some of the same cast of characters and locales, so that added to the mix-up. The image is based on a photograph that I took at a party in an East Village apartment. Being rather new to the hip, fluid ambience of downtown New York, I'm a Los Angeles native, I found it quite cool and exciting. For me, this image captures the buzz of that event, of that party. The quasi-surrealist character of the piece was a cryptic nod to Salvador Dali, especially with the inverted and abstracted crutch in the top center and the attenuated eye object projections, the cone, cube, and hard-edged torus, emanating from the protagonist's face on the left. The cascading flotsam and jetsam geometry, some of which being intact and platonic, is a metaphor for the free flow of thought forms or multivalent chat, both lucid and confused, emanating from the brain of the main figure. And interconnected to the others, this flow, interconnected to others in the room, including their ritualistic objects interface, a metaphysical snapshot of a joyful epiphanous frenzy. Note the refractive smoke bubble pipe held in the hand of the mirrored reveler. So that's sort of my description of the piece. And, I thought it, as a subjective thought, I thought it did fall nicely under the Techpressionist rubric, as it's an image created using technology, primarily computer graphic tools, and it combines an emotional expressive subjectivity with the inexorable neutrality of geometrical structure. So that's about it for me at the moment. So thanks so much. Thanks for listening, and once again, great to be part of this.
Thank you so much, Victor. All right, so next up we have Malavika. I'm going to, we are. And you with us, Malavika?
Yeah.
All right, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dev. I'm a text expressionist, mixed media and tapestry artist from India. First of all, I want to thank the exhibition advisor and curator for selecting and exhibiting my my work in Techspressionism 2021. In all my medium, the inspiration of my creation is elements of life, and along with this, the element us. All are linked, depend on each other, along with technological development. In the work, I want to try to show always the movement of life through ups and downs, smooth and sharp path, taking our all conscious, unconscious, and subconscious thoughts together gets transformed in my work through layers. For me, technology is not a replacement. It is a requirement. It is a necessity for my creation. Photography, scanned image of drawing, and computer editing techniques, along with my emotion, are involved in my thought process and execution of the Techspressionism art. Thank you. And I really love the way it is all displayed. Lovely creations by all the artists. Thanks to Pauline for including my work.
You're very welcome.
All right, thank you, Malavika. right, next up we have Michael Price. 1 second. Not Rees. There we are.
Thanks, Damo.
You're welcome.
So it's very interesting because this piece really I created sort of as honoring the Techspressionist artist and the movement. It's called Techspressionist Self-Portrait in Full Immersive Gear. So for me, this was, when I created this piece, I was kind of thinking about where the movement might be going in the near future. It was just kind of a speculative, abstract piece. And my connection to technology goes back to my physics days back in the mid-70s, through my time of about 30 odd years or so as a game designer working in the video and computer game industry, and then in this last generation as an artist. So I've been fortunate to see technology evolve rather dramatically in the 40 or so years that I've been pretty involved with it to one degree or another. And it's interesting because today, as I sit here looking at this piece, since it was created about a year ago, it's more personal to me now than it was then because of all of you. And so this piece really is for this group. I mean, my gosh, more than 24 countries represented here, people that I've gotten to know virtually, through Zoom, through one-on-one chats, through a collaboration that this group facilitated. So this is for everybody. And I know what you all mean by saying you found your peace. And this is really true. And to know how many folks in this group have evolved along with technology over decades. This is a really eclectic group. And you're all deep thinkers. Oh my gosh, thank you for your depth of artistry. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I jokingly refer to you as my wizard friend now, by the way. So it's very cool. It's been a pleasure to meet you and see your work and be able to interact with you too. Same goes for a lot of you as well, by the way.
Right back at you, Damo.
All right, so thank you for that, Michael. All right, next up we have Renata. So let me oops. This works. And there you are, Infirm Nebula.
Thank you, Davo.
Yep.
And I want to say thank you to Colin, to Patrick, and to Helen for including me in this survey exhibition, Techspressionism. I'm very honored to be a part of this group. I'm also feeling the same sentiments that we heard about finding your peeps. It's really great. It's helped my work develop, and it was Roz Diamond who named this work a part of the font series. So the elements in this painting were letter forms that I created using an assortment of apps. And my tools, as you can see, they have a lot of dimensionality. They create a lot of depth. So what I was aiming for in this work was a heroic tableau. If you want to zoom out, perhaps, it's got a scale to it that I liken to one of the history paintings of the 18th and 19th century, but we're not in the world here. We're in an imaginary landscape with an imaginary sky and imaginary clouds. And again, it's that illusion of large scale and a part of art history, but using a different kind of tool to express the work. And I also wanted to mention that this work exists as an NFT. It exists as a print. I just recently printed it onto aluminum die bond, and it exists as this part of this exhibition inside the Kunstmatrix paradigm. So again, thanks for including me.
Thank you, Renata.
Thank you, Renata. And I just wanted to say, Renata has generously offered to take over the curation of our Instagram account for Techspressionism. So big ups to you, Renata, for stepping up. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I also wanted to mention that I'm one of the artists included in Roz's pavilion in the Wrong called Devotion. And I think it's amazing that this show and a lot of our videos are also going to be part of the Wrong.
Super exciting.
Can't wait.
Can't either. All right. Next up, we have Diana. Let me pull up your piece. All right.
Thank you, Davo. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Colin and Patrick. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this show, which has such an amazing variety. I have found my tribe with Techspressionism, and I'm so excited. So this piece is actually a fractal, and it doesn't look anything like a fractal because most fractals use the concept of self-similarity, and you see sameness and kind of a comfortable sense. I took those mechanics and I kind of turned them on their head to make something that looked like it had a little bit more human involvement in it, human interaction. But it was actually done through a nonlinear transformation called a Minkowscope through fractal software. I use, for this piece, the base of it started with J Wildfire. I felt that it was a very energetic piece, and thus the name Eruption, kind of breaking through. But the colors were warm, and I felt that that provided a little bit more balance to it. My art has moved a little bit in the direction of more of that self-similar animated art that I enjoy, but I love working with fractals and bending the mechanics. This has been minted into an NFT on Foundation. Yes. That's it.
All right, thank you, Diana. All right, and next up we have Clive.
Hi, everyone.
Get into your piece. There it is.
Yep. Okay.
All right, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful work so far. Really pleased to be part of this quality of artwork that I'm seeing so far. I love the quality of the ideas in the work, and also the variety. It's wonderful to look at them all. They're all strong visually, but hearing about them today is fascinating. This work, Loom Alpaca, like a lot of people here, I work a lot. I spend a lot of time in a 3D environment on my computer screen. I think a lot about the X and Y and Z axes, the horizontal and vertical, and the depth, of course. And that's, in effect, where I spend part of my life. And I was reading Annie Alber's texts a few years ago, and that's where this series, the Loom series, came out of. I suddenly realized that a loom was full of horizontals, verticals, and depth. And I had a little epiphany thinking about her working at her loom and realizing that the physical aspect of that was not dissimilar from sitting at a computer and bending forward a little and being inside a 3D space. So that's a lot of where that this work comes out of. It's also, for me, a lot about rhythmical movement combined with variation. You get this very natural, organic variation coming in the pieces of wool, and then combining them with smooth movement and mixing variations so that in the 20-minute seamless loop, there's no repetition as part of a lot of what my work is about these days. So that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Clive.
Great to see you,
Clive.
All right. Then we have, after Clive, we have Tommy. Your work is actually right next to mine, apparently.
I mean, to echo everything everyone has said, the exhibition is surprisingly awesome. I feel like we're just touching on the potential of 3D exhibition or online VR exhibitions. This is really exciting to be part of this. So I guess my work is about memory and photography and how this sort of increase of digital photography's maybe the proliferation of digital photographs in our lives. I mean, how that affects our memory, what we're remembering, how we remember it, is often, or how we function is often thought of through metaphors of technology of the time. It's like we used to have the gears of our brain or whatever, and now we have, the circuitry of our brain. And so how has, this sort of switch from the preciousness of the individual photograph that was created chemically for decades, more than 100 years, how has that changed now that we're recording things with this ephemeral type of photograph that really is meant not to last, but we're able to take so many? How does that change the feeling of each individual image? And I feel like there's a sense of a different sense of time, and there's maybe an out of control sense, but also a sense of finding new patterns within that new perception, if you will. So, yeah, I could keep going, but I'll stop. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you, Tommy. All right, next up we have, I think, Sarah, correct? Yep, Sarah Song, which I know you haven't had a chance to be around too much, but glad you're able to make it today.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me in this amazing show. It's been a while I didn't show up, and now it's 3 a.m. in Hong Kong now, so it's like did you guys see the picture? Yeah. The piece I did, this one I did last year. Well, it's purely visual because most of my works is about exploring the relationship between visual and sound. So I did some works in the field of data sonification or sound visualization. But this one is purely visual, and it's called Evolution of the Eye. I think in the website, the description is not matched with this work, but yeah, Colin will update later. And so, yeah, it's called the Evolution of the Eye. So it's just, I use a picture I took from the real world, the real physical world, and then like using my program and distorted it and remap it in a 3D, in this 3D virtual world. So this piece, for me, I really, always, it surprised me with the outcome, because some of my code, they are fixed, but because of the input, it's different, and it would generate like amazing output, which is out of the control. And I found it quite fascinating because I'm not like fully control of the work, and it's kind of like collaborate with my code. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. And this piece is this kind of generated X-ray like video. So it's, for me, it looks like the evolutionary process of the eye. So I called it, I name it as the evolution of the eye. Yeah, again, so thank you, Colin, Patrick, and the team for making this happen. And great to see those awesome works. Congrats to everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. And again, glad that you're able to make it today.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have, I'm going to put him on the spot, Colin. You've been volunteered.
Okay. I wasn't expecting to share on my work, because I feel like I've been hogging the microphone with the intro. But so this piece here, I actually put in, I had a different piece in, and kind of at the last minute, I minted this piece as an NFT while I was down at my parents' house about a week and a half ago or so, and the house is being sold. My father had passed away in February, the day after Valentine's Day, and my mom recently moved back to Hawaii, where she was born. So I was in the house by myself. My sister came and joined me the next day, and it was a very emotional experience being there, clearing it out, and I minted this NFT in the wee hours of the morning. It's based on a digital drawing that I did back in 1999 that I drew when I was living in the East Village in New York City. And I have this series of digital drawings called metagraphs. So I've been reviving them as NFTs 20 plus years later. And there's actually some audio for the piece. That's 2 recordings that I made also in the middle of the night of some ambient sound outside, crickets chirping and stuff out there on Long Island in the house I grew up in, and also ambient noise that I recorded in our new home up in southern Vermont, which includes a rooster crowing at a very strange hour in the middle of the night. But the piece is really about the passage of time, and the fact that the drawings are vector-based makes them really fun to animate. I threw them into Adobe Animate, and a lot of my background is in commercial work, so I feel that both in my personal practice and with this Techspressionism project, it gives me a chance to exploit some of those skills that I learned by working in agencies and so forth. So that's about it. It's minted on Foundation. I have 4 NFTs on there. They're all along the same vein of taking these old 20-plus year digital drawings and animating them. 2 of them have sold to collectors and now are back on there on the secondary market, and 2 are still available. So I'm enjoying the whole NFT phenomenon. I feel like it really has given people who work digitally a way to circumvent the sort of power structures of the art industry, as I like to call it, not the art world, because there's no such thing, in my opinion. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
All right, thank you, Colin. And I don't apologize for putting you on the spot. All right, next up we have Lee. So we actually do have like 20 minutes left for our scheduled recording time. So we have a lot more time than I thought we would. Let me pull up your work, Lee.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Well, while you're pulling it up.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Lee Musgrave.
Sorry.
I forgot we had 2 Lees. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank Colin and all of the curators for including my work in this historic event. I really appreciate it. This particular image was featured in F-Stop Magazine's special edition on abstraction in 2019. But I actually created it, I think, way back in 2014. And it started with a little tray, plastic tray full of junk, scraps, if you will. And I looked at it and I decided to photograph it. And once I got the image into the computer, my first objective was to clean it up in a way that would make it very hard, if not impossible, to identify what these objects originally were. They were just pieces of paper and plastic and wire, and I took out a whole lot of stuff. And then I wasn't satisfied with the original color of a lot of the objects, so I went back and changed the color of many of them and even refined some of the shapes to get it in this particular arrangement. That process, believe it or not, in my mind, started for me back in May of 1962. I was a high school student. I was fortunate to have gotten hired in a publishing company that was just switching over to offset printing from hot type printing. And they needed some people working in their production department, in the art department especially, who were not afraid of that new technology. That was where I was introduced for the first time into what people referred to in those days as a computer machine to set type. It was called a Verityper headliner. It had these big plastic discs with letters in reverse that you put in the machine, and it printed the letters out on positive 35 millimeter film. And my job was to cut that all up and join it with photographs and other things that the editors decided on and put it all together like a collage. It was called a paste-up, but we didn't use paste, we used wax to stick these things down, and then take it over to the darkroom, photograph that, then take it over to the other end of the lab and burn that image into an aluminum plate that the guys in the press room would then put on the press and print. That was my introduction to using technology to make artwork.
1 minute.
I was 18 years old. So I've continued that process. I just enjoy the process of finding things, mostly scraps. I find most of them on the street. I enjoy photographing them, and then I especially enjoy getting them into the computer and making them my own, altering them, changing them, doing all sorts of things to them until I get an image that I'm happy with. What intrigues me, and it has intrigued me listening to all of these presentations actually, is that it's an abstraction, but it's not. Most people who look at this think I just did like Jackson Pollock and I threw paint all over the place and I cleaned it up, when really it's actual photographs of real things. So it's a documentary photograph that's turned into an expressionistic abstract image. That process intrigues me, and I hear all of you saying that's exactly what a lot of you do. Not all of you start with a photograph, but you start with an image that came from somewhere and you altered it until you were happy with it. And I give you thumbs up. That's the way to go. My history tells me that it's a good thing to keep pursuing because I think it'll turn out some wonderful artwork. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lee. And my apologies to our other Lee, because I forgot that we had two. So, sorry. All right, so Alan Kennard. All right, Alan, you with us?
I'm here. Thanks, Davo.
All right.
This piece is part of a series that explores the visual relationships that people have with technology, specifically what happens when things go wrong. All of us, I'm sure, have experienced when we stream media, things go wrong, things buffer, the signal freezes, and our initial reaction is anger, frustration, annoyance. But then when you look at the imagery, the glitch, if you want to call it that, things become apparent. There are pixels, excuse me, pixels that appear, colors get saturated, images are distorted, excuse me. So then when you notice those things, the art can, you can mitigate the art and mitigate the emotions that you experience. These pieces I created by taking those glitch images and making new pieces out of them. Sorry, I got a booster shot yesterday, and I'm having a lot of reaction to it today. So I apologize for my speech. But anyway, I used hand embellishments and the glitch imagery and textures and patterns and repeats and things to make these works. And the idea was you would try and mitigate those emotions that you experienced when you saw the glitch into something different, like an art piece. So again, I'd like to thank Patrick and Colin and you, Davo, for doing all this and creating this amazing exhibition. Thanks again.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for your work. All right, and then we have Skojo. Let's see. The title of this one had me laughing, by the way. Just putting that out there.
Hey everybody, I'm Skojo. I am a laser cat artist and neuropathy sufferer. A lot of my abstract pieces I actually start at night when I'm experiencing this neuropathic pain in my feet. So I developed a very kind of strange process where I stand up and I stomp around and I throw down paint on the ground and just make as many marks as I can to relieve the foot pressure of my pain and to kind of not think about it. And then I cut up these weird collages and I take pictures of them in weird lighting. And then I bring them into the computer and manipulate them on the computer. Sometimes I will add laser cats, sometimes figurative things like this. And then I'll print them out like as a giclée, glue them to wood, and then repeat the process. Add more paint, add more spray paint, and traditional media. So it's really kind of like this traditional analog sandwich in a way. I like mixing it all together. That's a little bit about my process. Some of the themes I'm playing around with are like the augmentation of the organic, the pros and cons of technology, and then a little bit of levity and chaos, because that's kind of my world, some levity and this chaos of my neuropathic pain. So that's where I got the laser cats from. I needed kind of a subject to work from. And so I added the laser cats because they gave me a sense of levity. That's it. I didn't really plan anything. Sorry if it's.
Oh, no, you're fine. Also, this work is available as an NFT, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. It's on
I wanted
OpenSea.
to let you guys know too. I just before the show opened, I added a little section on the homepage about the show that has a list of all the work that's available as NFTs.
Good. It's good on you.
Good to be part of the group.
Yeah, thank you, Skojo.
Sure.
All right. It does not look like there is anyone else. I think we actually got everyone that wanted to talk about their work that's currently in here anyway. I could be wrong. I don't think I missed anybody. I actually have a spreadsheet open with a list of everyone. That's how I've been able to keep track of everyone.
Did you miss yourself?
Oh, yes, Lee. Yes, sorry. The other Lee. The second Lee.
Hi, it's the other Lee. Hey, everybody. And I too apologize for having something in my throat, not because I had a booster. And I certainly hope to talk about neuropathy with Skojo at some point, because I have similar afflictions, which I would love to talk with you about, mostly optical neuritis. But that's not the story today. I want to thank, Devo, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Colin if you're still here, and Patrick for putting on this show, and I'm honored to be a part of this. Thank you so much for including me in the Techspressionist world. I really feel at home here, and I love the interactions that I've had with people. Tommy, you flattered me so much this week, and Renata, you guys are wonderful. Really appreciate everything. And this piece, ironically, I feel like the more I hear what everybody's talking about really fits in more than I thought it did at the beginning. I call it understand the current so that you could see the pathways instead of the chaos. And a lot of these works for me, they're photos. I don't do any Photoshop, nothing against it. I don't do any post-production at all. They're right from my iPhone. I didn't just, sometimes now I've been playing with the vibrancy of newer images, but this is straight from a gray overcast day that I was out in the woods that I normally go to every morning. I try to catch sunrise, and if you look at the very tops, there is a little bit of orange, which was all you could see in this cloudy day. And I was sort of lost in the thickets. But what I do is I have a series about 15 different analog moves that I've developed, where I play with the phone. I sometimes have a wiggle, or I have a back and forth. I don't know if you could see me or if you could just see the photos. I'm showing the camera what I'm doing in case somebody's looking at me in the little square. But so the different movements are done to the camera while it's in the panorama mode. And so the panorama is trying to put the image together as you're supposed to go slowly from one side to the other. But I'm jiggling around up and down or in little loops, or I have one where it's almost like you're signing a checkbook with, you have a little signature, but it's on the corner of the phone. And so it feeds the image, and it feeds the algorithm, and I'm kind of tweaking the algorithm in an analog way, which is, I guess at the end of the day, that's what my work has been about. All different mediums that I've worked in for 30 years is a play between the analog and the digital, or the analog and the technical technology, whether it's, it could be an analog mixer that I use for VJing, or some other work that I do is simply with a pencil and paper, but it blows up into stuff that's so out there that they used it in a bunch of peer-reviewed studies last year to see if people could believe that they're on hallucinogens while they're staring at my art, which they did, which I was flattered.
That's fine.
But this is nature and chaos, and trying to have something to hold on to. And the reason I call this one Understanding the Current is because when you're whitewater rafting, if you get caught up in the flow and you get lost in it, as long as you can know where the current is, then you can find your bearing again. So thank you so much for letting me talk and for letting me be a part of this. And Devo, you're wonderful for keeping everybody together. And everybody here, is fantastic, and I love the breadth and the diversity of all of our work. And I'm honored to be a part of this group. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, and then we have Nagin. There we are.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for including me in the show. Thank you, Colin and Patrick and Davante, for all the salons and exhibitions and all the effort. As some of you know, I'm working on this project, making this journal with visual data to make an archive of passing time and emotions and kind of archiving time and expressions. So I brought them into a self-portrait, also combining with this paradoxical time that we actually living in, like a lot of good things happening, excitement, sharp colors and brightness, and beside all these bad experiences we have in here and everything, and also the COVID and all the past year emotions, I try to mix them, express them in this piece. Also, I want to announce that me and Sahar Musavi are making this Iranian Techspressionist group, and to first introduce the Techspressionism to Iranian community and translate some part of the movement or approach, and talk about artists and everything. Thank you. And we are so honored to be a part of this community. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Nagin.
Yeah, and definitely thank you for taking that initiative to, get the Iranian Techspressionists together. I think it's a really interesting model to have these sort of nodes based around nationality, because in our artist index it's already sort of organized by countries. So that would be a really great way for artists to sort of be a point person to organize physical exhibitions and or virtual exhibitions for localized subgroups.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and I think that would be it. The only other person that's here, I think, that can present, I think, is me.
There's a few people in the grid that I see that haven't spoken, that have worked in the show. I'm not sure if you guys saw, that you could put your name in that, but I see definitely a few people out there. Sean, Sahar, Caro. There's a few people I don't think have spoken. So if you want to, I'm happy to keep the recording going until everyone that wants to talk about their work has had the opportunity.
Yep. And I guess I guess in the meantime, I'll go ahead and speak a little bit about mine, until people change their minds. Maybe, I don't know. All right, let me go ahead and pull myself up, I guess. All right. So here we have my piece entitled Burdensome, which, if you're not too familiar with my artwork, a lot of them have stories behind them, either something emotionally charged, like some emotionally charged story that I'm dealing with, or a lot of the internal thoughts get expressed in my artwork. There's also just a lot of ones that are I make for aesthetic purposes alone, where just like, that looks pretty, so I'll make it. Or I'll make it till it looks pretty to me anyway. Anyway, this one in particular was entitled Burdensome because I was making it around the time where I was having a not so great time with my relationship with my mother, and she was suffering very much from mental health issues, like severe depression, and she also had some other stuff that was going on, which made her like super paranoid, and it was just not a great time to be dealing with that. And like, as much as I didn't want to like call her a burden, like that's the thought and feeling that immediately came to mind. Like, I'm the only one that's being or having to deal with this because nobody else is wanting to try and help her. So it's like that weight, that burden fell on my shoulders, even though she actually lives with my brother, surprisingly enough, but he's kind of not helpful. Anyway, that's pretty much the idea behind this one. Like, if I zoom in really close here, it almost looks a little staticky in the middle, and also has my like Eye of Truth or variation of it over it, which is kind of like a symbol for, you know, protection and observation. Like the work is looking at you while also you're peering into it. And yeah, that's about it. It's actually kind of tied indirectly to my book of short poems called Generational, which I do have a copy that I just dropped on the floor. So there's that. But yeah, my book of short poems pretty much covers the exact same thing. It's a series of stories and in poem form with art that accompanies it that follows the same vein. So yeah, and again, glad to be here. Glad to be your moderator, your host, your general nonsense person. That and yeah, it's been a real pleasure this whole year I've been part of this.
Thanks, Dalo. I think Sean and maybe Cheryl wanted to speak as well. I mean, I'm happy to keep the recording going if you guys want to go. You know, you started 5 after, so.
Yeah, so we got, so Cheryl said she'll pass for now.
Okay. Sahar, did you want to say anything? I don't think Sahar had spoken either. I don't know.
Let me see.
But yeah, maybe.
I guess I could pull it.
Wants to go if you want to pull his work up, maybe.
Sean Mick, correct?
Yep.
All right. This is the ones that has animation tied to it.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you. I'm really honored to be a part of this show. It's an impressive body of work, and you guys are intimidating to listen to because you're very accomplished in years and years of digital art. I have to confess, NFT is what really brought me to this space. I've been in commercial art all my life since school, but it was the artistic practice came after I was an IT director in educational publishing in Boston and New York for a long time. And I caught on to NFTs kind of late 2019. I had stacks of hard drives with a lot of different projects I had worked on. I had a side hustle for PBS in Boston for a while with a friend of mine from LA. And I started to really try and adapt my physical practice, which I work out of Miami, in geometric abstraction, sculptural, and it just wasn't exactly resonating with me until I started to really look at who was working in this medium specifically. And I'm like, okay, I think I need something organic. And the work that I do as an NFT artist predominantly is a 180 from what I do normally as a physical practice. So a lot of what I try and aim to do is have the beast eat itself, which is, if you're going to put it out there on the internet, if you're going to post nonstop on TikTok and Instagram, well, I get the right to steal it. And if there's famous masters' works that have been photographed in the public domain, I get to steal it. And all of these things are really a commentary on our overconsumption, our bombardment with images, media, art, and how little time we really have to process that. So why not put it back into the blender and have it be kind of reborn? A lot of my physical practice as well as this NFT practice has to do with intangibles, relationships, emotions, dream states, all these things that really influence us, but don't really have any sort of visual reference outside of music and poetry and writing. But in a visual sense, it's a little bit more of a tricky beast. So I lean heavily towards a surrealist kind of angle towards getting these ideas out. This piece that was selected is called Cyclops, and it's representational of the beast that is social media. We are those in the Odyssey that are in the cave. It's up to us to use our minds in which to trick the beast so it doesn't consume us and to kind of escape it. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. Okay. Okay. So we do have a couple more people that want to speak. Great. I was a bit concerned for a second. All right. I think next up we have Sahar. Are you here, Sahar?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
First, I want to thank Colin and Patrick for picking my artwork. And the name of my piece is In Search of True Colors. I made a series inspired by a poem which says the end of any dark night is light. And I used this dark and black backgrounds as a symbol of what was going on around me. And I added colorful small pieces on this background as a symbol of hope, maybe. And my idea was that even in difficulties, still there is hope for everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sahar.
Thanks.
And
I think Sahar is booked for the next salon. That's going to be in 2 weeks. With,
yes, I'm going to
Skywater,
present. And have a presentation for the next salon.
Yep. And look forward to seeing it.
Thanks.
All right. And next up, I have Lucy.
Hi, everyone. So I also would like to thank you, Colin, and everyone for having me in the show. So I will just briefly talk about this piece. So this piece basically relates to my other pieces, which are made like digital collage. Particularly in this piece, I used a photo of a bottle of Prosecco, which I multiply into the geometric structure, and then I work digitally, and I basically wrap everything I like to drink. I like to eat when I drink Prosecco. So there's a Parmigiano, there's prosciutto, and these things, and basically this work is related to my period when I was younger, and I struggled with eating disorders because I wanted to be a model. So nowadays I'm working with this kind of special relation between the little fear of food and between just the laugh, eating, enjoying the food. So that's everything from me for now. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Lucy. All right. Then we have, I think, Caro. Let's see. Ta-da.
Hi, Damo. I'm here.
All right. I've got your work pulled up.
Yes. I don't like to speak too much, but I can talk about my piece. It's a collaboration with Max Milano, that it's a digital gallery, and it started with my old paintings. There are two different paintings in the same shade. One is Dorian, and one is a piece regarding a night with the moon, and we digitalized those images, and then there was a dancer in big digital screens playing with the images, and then it was a film of that situation, and that's how it was made, this artwork. So it's a different approach to all the others that were presented, and it's I think it's really representative of the expressionism, because it has emotions in the way the dancer plays with the artworks, and how everything is bringing in person with digitalization. So that's about my artwork. Thanks a lot, and it's really nice to be included in the show. Thank you, Colin and Patrick, and thank you, Davo, also.
Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Cara.
All right. So Helen is leaving out. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak about their work that they have in the in the exhibition? So,
Cheryl, there's time if you want to say anything about your work.
Hi, may I just interject for one second? Is that okay?
Sure.
Hi, I'm not necessarily supposed to be.
You're muted.
Oh, you accidentally muted yourself.
There we go. Okay, now I'm back. Yeah, what I wanted to say is that I thought that everybody's presentations were very sincere, beautiful, and honest, and that I think that this is a great coming together of creators. I've been watching the space now for almost a year. I'm quite new to it, and it's very exciting to see everybody's attitude and output. I just wanted to praise everybody. Just share that. I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Are you an artist as well?
Yes, I'm a creator. Yes, I am indeed.
Awesome. Feel free to put your URL in the chat window if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a great link to share. It's here. It can show a little bit about my project and what I'm doing with my work. And this is my name.
And I just wanted to add, too, for the people who might be watching later on YouTube, one of the main ways that we locate artists is through the use of the hashtag Techspressionism on Instagram. So if you're an artist or a creator and use the hashtag, our curator will most likely see your work when she's looking to share content for the Instagram story, as well as passing on suggestions for featured artists to me that I could add to the index.
Noted. I will be following this hashtag.
Okay, and doesn't look like, unless I missed it, but I haven't seen anyone add anything to the chat about wanting to present. So
Cheryl, are you good, or did you want to say anything?
I would say.
All right.
Don't leave anyone out.
I can wing it.
All right. I think I've got you right here.
Right there. Yes. This it's just one photograph that I took into Photoshop and just played around with Photoshop and created this. And I've been working, I guess, with digital from the 80s. I didn't even have a computer in the beginning.
of I figured one day that I would have to use a computer for something, and I figured I didn't have the will to learn WordPerfect or any of the other things that you usually use for work. So I took like classes in animation and I guess graphic design in the community colleges and kind of took them all. And from there, I just found out that I just adored this kind of work. And I mean, I've been a 2D artist. I've dabbled in most every kind of art there is, ceramics, printmaking. Can't throw away my printmaking things, even though I don't do it or have a press anymore. And it's just, I just love them all so much. It's just impossible to get rid of something that may come in handy someday. I know the first, as soon as I get rid of something, like that, I'll probably have access to a press. So that's the way. I don't know. I'm not a verbal person, and I just see everything in pictures, and I love working with the computer, the colors, and everything's. I guess almost everything I do is pretty, but not everything. That's all I have to say. Ben, thank you so much for having me in the show. I was like surprised when I got that ad, and I wanted to invite everybody, but thank you very much, Apple, because your version 15 has excluded my group friends in the email. I cannot do that anymore, so I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the time to individually select everybody to come and see this. But I'm not sure many of them would be able to understand how to use the Zoom anyway. But thank you so much, and I love everybody else's work, and I'll just continue with this and continue being with you all.
All right. Well, thank you, Cheryl. Also, this work actually kind of reminds me a bit of that story. I think it's called Secret Garden, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of feeling I was getting from this.
Yeah, I should name it that. Yeah, I will next time I put it in somewhere.
All right. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So it is. Time. It is 4:19, almost 4:20, and I don't believe there. I know I've said this like 3 times now about not thinking that there's anybody else that needs to present or needs to share, but I know some people are on their way out or have places to be. So again, I could be wrong because. I've been
Peace now
proven
or
wrong.
forever hold your peace.
Right.
once the stop button is hit, that's it. The capsule's closed. So it'll probably take a couple hours to crunch on Zoom, and then a couple more hours to crunch on YouTube once it's uploaded. But hopefully, maybe by tomorrow, this will be live in the playlist for the salons, and also in the Wrong Biennial playlist. So, yeah. It went smoother than I thought. I was sort of winging it, but thanks everyone for coming.
I will actually end with the piece that is featured on the promo materials with Patrick's piece. In case you guys didn't get a chance to, because I know he wanted to speak on it, but he had to run off to his class, I believe. So I think this would be a good image to leave off on, as it's the title piece, pretty much.
And this piece has been minted as an NFT as well. It's on Foundation. And I know a little bit about it. I know that Patrick has been working with calligraphic, strokes and mark making for quite a while. And I think that this piece was created using a GAN, using some AI tools, I believe, maybe Playform. I just saw this body of work and I thought, you know what, this really says Techspressionism to me. And there's definitely work where stylistically I feel like, a connection, or, it relates maybe to other expressionist work in the past in some sort of a visual way. So I asked him if he would be open to, using this as sort of the poster image for the show, and he was. So I think it's a great piece of work.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree wholeheartedly.
And Davo, I want to thank you for, running this show very smoothly and, keeping it going, keeping everything moving. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've had a year's worth of practice at this point. But yeah, no, it's my pleasure to be here and, helping out any way that I can, and, just making this a pleasant experience for everybody that's involved.
There's one last thing I want to say. My dad, who passed away in February, used to say to me, if you can't find a way, make a way, and that quote is real inspiration for this exhibition and just for this whole project, really, because I feel like as artists working with technology, I'll just speak for myself, as an artist working with technology, I've had many doors closed in my face, fancy gallery doors most often. And, I just feel like it's easier just to create a platform of your own than trying to get in on other people's platforms. And at some point, people sort of connected with the idea. And, one thing that I said to Steve Miller early on was, you're a Techspressionist when you say you are, and the idea of self-identification, I think, is an extremely important component of this project. So, that's it for me. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. It's a little hard to gatekeep when you make a place that has no gate.
Exactly.
All right.
I suggest ending on a little gallery view of everyone clapping like we do.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
Stop my share.
Woohoo!
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your time.